Ever feel like tiptoeing around a museum, just dying to peek behind the velvet ropes?
That's what we're doing today, except instead of priceless artifacts.
We're unearthing an ancient text.
That's captivated people for centuries.
The Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Oh.
Now, before you picture some dusty old tome,
It's anything but.
think less horror novel and more like
A collection of spells, hymns.
prayers
It's a guidebook.
for navigating the afterlife.
Egyptian style.
Okay, a guidebook? You've got my attention. So we're not talking about one book,
More like a compilation.
like greatest hits.
Of wisdom, exactly. And each chapter, if you will,
Because, gotta love a good chapter.
has a specific purpose. Imagine you're an ancient Egyptian,
Okay, I'm imagining.
prepping for the great beyond.
Got my sandals.
You'd want this guidebook to ensure...
Smooth sailing for your soul.
Precisely. It's like chapter 12, how to avoid that pesky mummy's curse.
Okay, maybe not that literal, but
Close. You'll find chapters coming forth by day.
sounds like a busy afterlife already.
Escaping corruption, navigating different realms.
Wow, high stakes.
Absolutely.
But was this insider info just for, like, pharaohs and those guys?
That's what's fascinating. These spells weren't just for royalty.
Oh.
Everyday Egyptians.
Yep.
Scribes, farmers, everyone, they all wanted to ensure their souls wouldn't get lost.
It's like that universal fear.
Of the unknown.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
What they feared, what they hoped for.
That human need for control, even in death.
Exactly. A desire that transcends time and culture.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get down to it. I was looking at chapter 12, chapter for entering A&D coming forth from the netherworld. Intense. Much. So what is this netherworld and why all the back and forth?
Ah, the netherworld, or Durat, as the Egyptians call it.
What? Yeah.
That was their realm of the dead. But don't picture some static waiting room.
Okay.
It was a journey.
Ooh, like a road trip.
More like a perilous quest, tests,
Gotcha.
trials, guardians to overcome.
Guardians. Okay, now it's getting real.
Chapters like this, chapter 12,
Our guide
they provided the deceased with spells and knowledge.
to navigate it all.
Exactly.
So less, peaceful afterlife and more, hold on tight, we're going for a ride.
You could say that. And it gets even more interesting when we talk about the moral aspect.
The last best.
Like chapter 125, the negative confession.
Negative confession. Okay, I'm already intrigued.
Imagine a cosmic courtroom. You're on trial.
Me on trial.
Before the gods themselves.
A cosmic courtroom. Someone's been binging too much interdimensional cable. So what happens in this cosmic courtroom? Am I guilty until proven innocent?
Well, let's just say it's less about lawyers and more about your heart, literally.
Yes.
It gets weighed on a giant scale.
Okay, hold on. Giant scale. Against what? A mountain of good deeds? A bushel of cosmic brownie points?
Even better, it's weighed against the feather of Mot,
Nah.
the goddess of truth and justice, no pressure.
Oh, just the weight of my soul on the line, no biggie. So light heart good, heavy heart bad.
You got it. Light heart means you lived in harmony with Mot, truthful, respectful, the whole shebang. Then you get passage to the good afterlife.
Sounds pleasant.
But if it's heavy with, shall we say, not so good deeds?
Let me guess, cosmic jury duty.
Not quite. Let's just say there's this eater of the dead waiting in the wings, and he's not there for the chit-chat.
Yikes. Okay, so less about what you did, more about WHO you were.
Bingo. And that's where the negative confession comes in.
Okay, negative confession. Hit me.
It's like a character assessment for the afterlife.
So not, I stole that candy bar when I was 7.
Well, maybe. It gets surprisingly specific. Think, I have not stolen, I have not lied, I have not caused pain, or even, I have not eavesdropped.
Eavesdropping. Wow, those ancient Egyptians took their ethics seriously. So basically, be a good person or else.
More like, be a good person because it creates balance. They called it Ma'at, this cosmic order of truth and justice. And it wasn't just for the afterlife. They believed it had to be maintained in life, too.
So good vibes only, ancient Egyptian style.
You could say that. They understood that our actions matter, that they have consequences that ripple outwards.
Makes you wonder what they'd think of our world.
Now, that's a deep dive for another day. But while we're on the topic of powerful forces, let's talk about names.
Okay, names like the power of a good nickname.
Even bigger, we're talking about the Egyptian concept of Het-ka, this magical power they believed was woven into words and knowledge, especially names.
So names held a different kind of weight for them.
Think of it like this. You're trying to get into an exclusive club in the afterlife, right? knowing the right names, the right words.
It's like the secret password.
Exactly. It was a big deal in the Book of the Dead. Like, chapter 31 talks about knowing the names of the divine gatekeepers to enter the divine circle of Osiris.
Oh, so not just any name will do. It's all about knowing the VIPs of the underworld.
Precisely. Each name had a specific power, a key to unlock the next level, so to speak. The more names you knew, the more powerful you became in the afterlife.
Okay, that's cool. It's like collecting cosmic frequent flyer miles. The more you know, the better your journey.
And speaking of a helping hand on your journey, there are these figures in the Book of the Dead called the Seven Arets.
The seven Arets. Lay it on me.
Think of them like guardian spirits looking out for you, especially when things get dicey.
So like cosmic bodyguards.
Exactly. They're mentioned throughout the Book of the Dead, often with instructions on how to summon them for help. They were powerful beings, knowledgeable in the ways of the afterlife.
Handy to have on speed dial. But it makes you wonder, with all these guardians and spells, was the afterlife really that scary for them?
It was definitely a journey with its share of challenges. And that brings us to another important concept, judgment.
Judgment. We're back to the cosmic gavel.
In a way, we talked about the negative confession, but there's also the weighing of the heart ceremony. It's a huge deal in the Book of the Dead, visually, too.
Visually.
Oh, yeah. There are all these incredible illustrations on the papyri depicting the ceremony.
Oh, they show.
They show Anubis, the jackal-headed god.
Yeah, I've seen him on those History Channel shows.
Right, so Anubis is there overseeing the weighing of the deceased's heart against the feather of Ma'at.
Talk about a heavy responsibility.
It was a powerful symbol for them. It highlighted that your earthly actions had consequences even after death.
Accountability, even in the afterlife. Makes sense.
Exactly. And it ties back to the negative confession. It wasn't just about avoiding punishment, but about genuinely striving to live a life in alignment with Ma'at, truth, justice, that whole cosmic order.
So less about dodging a cosmic bullet and more about being a good person for the sake of being good.
Precisely. And that's a concept that continues to resonate even today.
Absolutely. It makes you think about the bigger picture.
Right. Speaking of bigger pictures, there's a whole other dimension to the afterlife we haven't even touched on yet. Navigating the underworld. We're talking about treacherous landscapes, mysterious rivers to cross, even terrifying creatures to outwit.
It's like Indiana Jones meets Dante's Inferno. But instead of whips and fire, it's all about spells and knowing the right names.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially in the afterlife, according to the Book of the Dead.
Speaking of power, you've spent years studying this stuff. What's something that surprised you about the Book of the Dead?
You'd think it'd be all doom and gloom, right? But there's this surprising practicality to it.
Practicality, like how to pack for eternity.
Think more like step-by-step instructions on addressing the gods.
Okay.
How to avoid those nasty creatures we talked about, even maps to navigate the underworld.
So it's a combination of, like, spiritual guidance and afterlife travel tips.
Right. It's like they wanted to prepare the deceased for every possibility.
Makes you think, those ancient Egyptians, they were planners.
They were, and it speaks to that very human need, right? To feel in control, even when faced with the ultimate unknown.
Makes sense. So it's not about passively accepting death, but about actively navigating it.
Exactly. It's a powerful concept. This idea that even in death, there's agency.
And maybe even some adventure.
Perhaps. The Book of the Dead definitely doesn't shy away from the idea of a journey.
It's a whole new perspective on the afterlife. Not just a destination, but a continuation of sorts.
Right. And one that requires preparation, just like any other journey. And that preparation, it went beyond the practical, of course.
Of course, because we've got to talk about those stories.
Yes. The Book of the Dead is full of them. Vivid tales about the gods and their adventures.
My favorite, Ra's nightly voyage through the underworld.
Oh, that's a classic. Talk about high stakes. Every night, he battles darkness, faces down terrifying creatures, and emerges.
Victoriously. A new day dawns.
Every morning. A powerful reminder that even in the face of the unknown,
There's always hope.
always a chance for renewal. And that brings us to another iconic story, Osiris.
Osiris, god of the underworld himself. Didn't he have a bit of a rough go?
To put it mildly, betrayed by his own brother, Set.
Brutal.
And yet, even after death, he's resurrected.
Brought back thanks to his amazing wife, Isis.
See, even in the underworld, a little love and magic go a long way.
That's the Book of the Dead for you.
Yeah.
Full of twists, turns, and those timeless themes.
Love, loss, betrayal, hope.
It's all there. These stories, they make these ancient beliefs feel so relatable.
Absolutely. We connect with them on a human level because they speak to the universal experiences.
And it makes you think, what will our stories be? How will future generations interpret our beliefs about life, death, and the great beyond?
Now, that's a question worth pondering. And if the Book of the Dead teaches us anything, it's that our stories, our actions,
They have meaning.
they resonate beyond our time here.
It's been amazing exploring this ancient text with you. So much to unpack, so much to think about.
It's just the tip of the tomb, really. There's so much more to uncover.
And for our listeners, we'll provide a link in the show notes to a translated copy of the Book of the Dead, so you can embark on your own deep dive.
It won't disappoint.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those peepers peeled for those velvet ropes. You never know what wonders await on the other side.